Welcome, everyone. Welcome. We're going to do a World Cafe in this session. Hands up if you've experienced a World Cafe before. Couple, great. Don't worry if you haven't. It's fun and easy to get involved in. It's what I wanted to say about this is it's going to be highly discussion oriented. So we aren't going to be running a panel, as you can tell. If we're not sitting up here running a panel. We aren't going to be talking at you for 75 minutes. I think that's how long we have. We are going to go through a process, and it basically creates discussion for 3 questions. We'll lead you through the process, but very discussion oriented. So if you are hoping to sit in here and just listen to people talking at the front, this probably isn't for you. If you're hoping to get involved and learn from others, this is going to be great. Okay. Great. So, and the topic is connection in digital age, as you're all familiar with. Jen, would you like to introduce Sunny, and then we'll introduce
Sure,
ourselves as well.
sure. So Sunny has been around for about 5 years. We are focused on furthering social connection in lots of different spaces at the same time. So we're focused on both the personal space, you're the individual, your community, and workplaces, which workplaces is sometimes not mentioned in this space, but it's a really important one. So for individuals, we have a free app that helps you think about your social battery. It helps you set social goals for yourself and kind of start to track how you're feeling and how you want to be more social. That launched in this summer, and so we're continuing to iterate on it and new features coming all the time. So I would definitely recommend taking a look at it. And then we're also focused on workplaces. Workplaces is an area where we really need to take some time to help employers create social connection in the workplaces. It's actually it can be a very lonely place if you're not feeling connected. And with hybrid and remote work and AI coming in, it's kind of changing all the dynamics at work. So you could be very social outside of work, but inside of work, it's really important. And then we're also working with community partners like the Y and the United Way to help support community spaces as well, because we know connection happens everywhere. And so we're really trying to touch on all 3 of those areas in different ways right now.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. So I'm Jen Lipsey. I'm the Chief Growth Officer at Sunny. I've been here for just a little over a year. I have a different background, so I don't have the nonprofit space that thank God you guys are all living in. And we need all of you. But what I think I do have is I've always worked for organizations that were mission driven. And so what I really loved about Sunny was the opportunity to be able to come and speak the corporate language to other corporations and really help them understand how important social connection is in the workplace for your employees, for the well-being, for all of the things that we all know it matters for. But it also drives business outcomes. So I really like to connect those dots for organizations and help them see how important both of those things are. And then it's not a fluffy, nice to have thing that organizations don't have to think about. So that's my work at Sunny.
And I am at Sunny. I'm the head of behavioral science. So I have a PhD in applied psychology. I work in behavioral design. So my focus has really been about how do you design for behavior? How do you enable behavior, particularly using psychology and social science? And part of the reason we want to introduce ourselves this way is because we work with technology and connection, and it's really hard. Like it's really hard to use technology to design for connection. There are lots of challenges within it that we will explore today. Could you move to the
Yeah.
next slide? So the process we're going to go through, I mentioned we're doing a World Cafe. For those of you who have arrived, welcome. We're doing a World Cafe. It was coined in the 90s by David Isaacs and Juanita Brown. Really, really cool methodology. If there's one thing you can just immediately take from this session is the World Cafe exists, got a great website. All the materials are easy to use, free to use. It works really well to bring different groups of people together to solve thorny problems. It originated in the nonprofit space for that reason. It's called a World Cafe because the world aspect represents the diversity of thought that we're all bringing together. The cafe represents the hospitable environment we're all going to create. You can see on the tablecloths, we're encouraging to play, draw, doodle. We'll go more into all of that as we go through the World Cafe. But that's the vibe. That's what we're leaning into here. In terms of the process, as you can see, we're going to go through a structured process, probably about 10, 15 minutes of us talking at the beginning. And then again, it's mostly discursive, mostly dialogue oriented. So we're going to spend a bit of time setting the context. We're going to give you our point of view on the world, on the kind of question that we're here to explore together. We are going to then create hospitable space. We're starting to do that. We're going to create more of that. Together, we're going to explore questions that matter, specifically 3 different questions that build on one another. We're going to work through those, probably 10 to 15 minutes discussing each one. And then at the end, we're going to debrief and discuss our insights and themes together at the very end. And we will listen for those patterns, see what we can learn together, what we surface together. Okay, sound good? Great. So let's set the context. Let's set the context of what we are working through. If there's a broad question, it's a really big topic area, which is great for a World Cafe because we can take it in lots of different directions, go down rabbit holes and explore. The broad question is, how might we harness technology to deepen, not dilute, meaningful connection? That's not what we're going to go and answer, but if that's the theme for the World Cafe itself, that's kind of summarizing what we're exploring today. And the great thing is, my favorite session this morning on AI policy and design was incredible. We don't really need to set an awful lot of context here. That was amazing. We can really discuss it here and explore it here. I think it's primed us really well. We're going to share two perspectives before we go into those questions. Jen, take it away with the first one.
Sure.
I can build it for you.
Okay, thanks. So what we've really uncovered is there are lots of different ways to experience connection and interaction, but it kind of sits on this 2x2 of frequency and vibrancy. So frequency is how often you are having those connections happen. That one's pretty easy to understand. And then vibrancy is how does it make you feel? Like, is it a really awesome interaction that you walk away being like, I knew I should have gone to that, or I didn't think I wanted to go, but I'm really glad I went. That felt great. You guys have probably all experienced that where you're heading into something and you're like, why did I commit to this 2 weeks ago? I really don't want to do this now. And afterwards you're feeling really good about that. So in the loneliest section, it's where you're not getting any frequency of interaction and you're not getting any vibrancy in that interactions. And that feels very lonely. And that is kind of that bottom piece. The second piece that we probably all feel a lot is the distracted and overwhelmed. So this is the frequency. You have 1,000 ways to connect with people. You can do it through Slack, email, Teams, your phone, text, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. There's 1,000 more that you all have, or different groups that you're in, and you're getting bombarded with all of that. But think about this: when it's your birthday and you get 1,000 people on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram that say happy birthday, how meaningful does that feel versus back in the day, people would have to call you or someone would have to like grab you in the hallway and be like, oh my God, it's your birthday. Happy birthday. What are you doing? How are you celebrating? And instead we're getting 1,000 people that meanwhile saying happy birthday with the little balloon at the end that's automatically pre-posted. So you're getting that frequency, but it's not really fueling the need that you have inside to like feel connected to other individuals. And then if you go down the vibrancy side of it, you probably are having some moments where you're like, this felt so good. Like, I feel so energized. This conference is one of those, right? Many of you are in different fragmented companies, places around the globe, and you're really starting to figure out like finding other people. What I felt, I was just telling my colleagues in the hallway, I'm like, it's so nice to be surrounded by like people that speak the same language and like understand the importance of this. Because I find that in the work we do, we're constantly trying to explain this to people who don't understand the connection here. And so this moment is one of those vibrant moments that you guys are going to all leave the conference. You're going to be energized, and then you're going to go back to your spaces, and those spaces might not have that interaction. So what we're really working towards is this fourth quadrant, which is how do we get more vibrancy of interactions and a bit more frequency on those interactions. So it's like feeding your social battery, feeding your soul, making you feel all the things that social connection does, driving creativity, driving relationships, friendships, all of those things that we know social connection is really important for. And we're just kind of getting lost in the yellow and the orange. Like we're either getting a whole bunch of it or we're getting these moments that feel impactful and we don't necessarily know how to go get more of those moments.
Great. Thanks, Jen.
Yeah.
And then if we go to this one, and then you can all recognize, right, that with digital work, we're talking about digital broadly here. So there's AI as a component of that, social media as a component of that, but digital technologies and the use of technology within our lives is really what I want to broaden the conversation to. And then on your tables, you might take it down to specific avenues. But I was talking to a journalist recently who's doing a lot of work on how transportation and the trip through the airport, for instance, and then the flight and the landing and getting to a place, you can do that now without speaking to a single person. And for some people, that's great. For us as a society, I think we need to wallow in what are the consequences of that. And that's just another example, right, of how technology can change the way in which we live and interact and that sense of community and connection that we have. So as examples of how technology can enable and suppress, because we kind of want to be optimistic about technological change, right? Like we don't want to just scrap it all. So as you can all recognize, right, we have more access to more people. That's a great opportunity. That can also create attentional overload. That's something that we're seeing an awful lot of in workplaces, but also in life. There's recorded nostalgia. I love this area of like, actually, we have more records of what has happened in our lives that we can return to and revisit with people in our social circles. That's a really powerful thing. And we have kids living with fear of an eternal record of, spilling their lunch down themselves in the canteen. There are greater opportunities for spontaneity. We can get more access to more opportunities to connect. We can see them more easily. We get more notifications in the moment for them. And there's the pressure of always being on, always reacting for fear of missing out, right? And then finally, I mentioned this with the airport example, convenience and speed. It can be, I quite like sometimes being picked up by an Uber and not being spoken to. But like, what's the detriment of that as a society? And Gillian Sandstrom, another one, if you're really interested in this area, I love her work, Professor Gillian Sandstrom in the UK. By the way, I didn't say my name, Ian with two eyes. I'm just realizing I'm from the UK, live in New York, and my name is Ian with two eyes. That's good primer for me going back to that. Professor Gillian Sandstrom has this whole research on minimal social interactions and how the little interactions with an Uber driver or with a TSA agent or with a shopkeeper are actually really important for our sense of connection and self. And through technology, we're steadily stripping those out, which is a potentially, an interesting area. If you're looking to discuss it with the questions, an interesting area to go. So these are examples of the trade-offs. These are the kinds of things we want to wallow in as we go into the World Café. Right, let's set up the discussion. This is how this is going to work. There are 3 questions. I'm going to introduce them in turn. Don't worry too much. The question is going to be on the slide. You're going to have time to discuss it. It's going to be really clear and structured. 3 questions that we're going to go through. We are going to have table hosts. The table host role is to keep everyone on track. Don't allow divergence down rabbit holes, but if it goes completely off topic, that's when I would intervene as a table host. I also really want a bit of disagreement. We don't want it to get too heated. We want to, again, hospitable space. We want to disagree with civility. But if I reflect on the panels, there's a lot of agreement in the panels. Be lovely if we could disagree a little bit and use that to explore where we disagree and what opportunities there are. So the table hosts, I think, the key role for that is allow disagreement, keep it structured, and then if it gets down a rabbit hole, move it on. We're going to select table hosts right now. I'm going to lead you through a process to do it. But before I do that, I need everyone to be at a table. So we are going into discussions. We are going to not answer questions, explore questions. So everyone find a table. There should be plenty of space. You got 2 seats, 4 seats here, 4 seats here. We have seats, we have space. You can bring your chair if you want. Please find a table. Great. New joiners, find a table. We're going to be going into questions. Great. Everyone take a seat.
There's a few chairs still up here.
Yep.
Oh, they've got 2 in the back. I love it. Thank you for helping.
Wonderful. All right. So we're going to choose table hosts. Now, everyone raise your one hand, right hand, point to the sky, and now point at a random person on your table. The person with the most points. Bravo. Could the table hosts please raise our hands? 1, 2. Table hosts over here. Lana, great. So we have our table hosts. Okay. The benefit of being the table host is that you don't have to move. So as we go through the 3 questions, at a bit different point in each question, I'm going to ask for 2 travelers from each table to get up and move. Okay. I'll remind you at the point. Table hosts, do not move. Stay at your tables. Okay, great. And then discussion-wise, we've said we're creating a hospitable environment. Okay, you can see you've got Sharpies. You can draw on the tablecloths. All good. Discover, explore together. This point of explore the questions, don't answer them is really important. So we're going to bring the questions up. We're not looking to answer the questions. They can't really be answered. Explore, take them in different directions. You all have incredible. This is one of the smartest conferences that I've been at, with such a diverse range of people and voices who have perspectives on this really meaningful topic. Let's make the most of that in this conversation. All right. So the first question is, when is the loss of human connection worth the increase in efficiency? We're going to start strong and provocative. We'll give you 10 minutes to just settle into this. question. Take it away. I'm going to put on some Parisian bistro music.
Oh, wow.
Oh. All right, we're just going to pause the discussion. 3, 2, 1. Great. Really quick, really quick. So we're going to go into the third question, but before we do, we're actually going to give you just a little bit more context, a little bit more of a point of view, and then we'll go into a third question. I'm not going to have you move tables for this one, but then maybe a little bit later just because of time. Okay, if we go to the next bit then. So we've been talking a lot. Oh, thank you. Thank you. We've been talking so far. We've talked about the balance between efficiency and kind of connection, humanity, and then we went on to talk about what was the previous question? Sorry, I'm thinking about this. Using technology to increase vibrancy, exactly. And now we're moving from that into how do we do that? So how do we bring technology and connection into the flow of our lives? And Atiksha actually put it really well this morning. I love the way you framed it of augmenting life, not displacing life. And what we talk about at Sunny is how do you build it into the flow of life? How do you build it into the flow of work in a way that brings connection in? Because we've learned from firsthand experience, right? So we built a whole app, and you can see our app at the moment out there. It's very cognitively demanding. So we built it around goal setting and commitments and work over time, which we have a really highly motivated user base who are really happy to do that. For a lot of users, they want in the moment nudges. They want it to be easy and automatic and unconscious, which is great for me as a psychologist because we've been designed for that. So we're kind of reviving this concept from the 70s, which was in community planning of social architecture. We're kind of reviving that a little bit for the use of technology in life and connection within life. Interestingly, the OECD report on this that just came out talked about social infrastructure being a really key solution to this topic. So we believe that's somewhat validating similar design principles here. And so as we go into this third question, which is about how do we actually build it in? How do we build connection and technology and bring them together? 3 areas that I would encourage you to think about is how do you make it automatic? You don't have to think about it. It's easy. It's the default. It's just there. It encourages you to connect without even having to think about it. Anchored. How do you tie connection into anchoring moments? In the workplace, this might be a weekly team meeting. In life, it might be scheduling a call with your parents at the same time on a Saturday, which I've been meaning to do for a long while, and I need to put it in. And autonomous is a really important one. There's really good research that shows that when you force people to connect, again, particularly in organizational settings, but can be in life as well, if it feels forced, then people will not only do it, they'll probably react to that. So how do you create choice? How do you create within that structure of autonomy and anchoring? How do you create the choice, the feeling of empowerment that I'm connecting at least in my own way, in the way that suits me? So if those are 3 principles, just to give you a little bit of inspiration as we go into the third question, which is, what is one immediate opportunity to design social architecture into the world? Whether it's into technology design, a lot of you are working in technology, or whether it's into the community spaces that you're operating in, whether it's into your own personal life, how could you use these kinds of design principles to blend connection technology in a harmonized way into your lives? Again, don't answer the question, explore it, take it down rabbit holes. If these are wrong, critique them and come up with better ones. Great, go for it. All right, we're going to wrap it up for the final time. 3, 2, 1. And we're done. We're done. We're done. Can we move to the next slide? Next one. Great. So what's been really interesting is we've had the privilege of moving around the room, right, and just listening in, and you've all gone on different journeys and different conversations, which is really, really cool. And now we're going to spend the last 10 to 15 minutes just hearing some of the insights from those journeys. This shouldn't feel like a really boring report out. We don't want that. These aren't questions to be answered. These are questions that we've explored together. So instead, what I want to hear from you all, and it's really just open, it's just sharing what's kind of jumped out at you. Table host might take the lead here, but really want to hear from anyone. Three things that you could share. One is any theme that tied the questions together that came back repeatedly throughout the discussion. So themes, patterns, insights that you've noticed. Secondly, any resonant ideas, any like one-off moments that made you go, ooh, I like that. Like maybe it's controversial, maybe it's something you hadn't thought of before, but a resonant idea. Please share those with us. And any new takes kind of related to a resonant idea, but any different takes that you've kind of come away from the conversation with. And of course, our intent today was to start a conversation. You may well have met people on your table that you want to keep this going with, and that is great as well. So those are the kinds of structures of what we want to hear. I would love to share your journeys with one another. What came up for you? Who would like to kick us off? Yeah, please. Yes. At least project. At least project. Yeah.
I want to shout out Bill that was at my table and gained two amazing ideas as we were talking about the social infrastructure. The first was making you opt out rather than opt in of recurring interactions, especially with people that don't live in your city anymore. Have a monthly invite with someone that you want to talk to once a month, and it makes you opt out rather than opt in. I thought that was amazing. And the second one was book ending, whether it's a work week or a specific interaction with a club or group of people. Those first 5 minutes, those last 5 minutes, that last 20 minutes, making them feel much more human focused and intentional, making that stuff in the middle that is sometimes work and not as fun, go a little bit more Christianly. So
Love that. Great examples that we can easily apply. Yeah. Great. Great. Who wants to go next? Come on, there's so much richness in this room. Come on.
Okay, I'm gonna go.
Please, please.
Oh yeah, I don't have Instagram. I want to tell you that, but that's okay. What I heard is that we're all different. We all come from different backgrounds, and it means something different to everybody. Not to be afraid of technology, which I'm not. Keeping up with technology is the issue, and forever having to hear what your work is on your job. It's like, okay, I got to apply staying present and being relevant in the workplace. And yet, I'm not getting guidance or training as to how to use technology to be more efficient. That's the issue. So I'm very smart, highly intelligent, and I can learn, but I have a different way of processing. And what's forever changing is scary. It is. And so sometimes, and I heard this today, what resonated is staying connected, and how you stay connected looks different for everybody.
Yeah.
So not wanting to be on the outskirts. So I'm going to pretend that I know what I know until somebody asks me, or I have to fess up and ask for help. Or, I can do that too. But I just heard around the room, what connection really can mean is what you make of it. So in your neighborhood, in your workplace, there's all types of ways that we can address this. But I have some experts around the room. So before I leave, I'm going to have it a series.
Wonderful.
I
Thank
think
you so much.
that's a really valid call out too, as we think about kind of like the multi-generational workforce, right? Sometimes we focus on one end or the other of it, of the new ones coming in that need that mentorship, and what can we do to help them be better communicators, and they're missing all that stuff. And you bring out a really good point of, what about the other side? You've got all the experience on, let me show you how this corporate world works or this nonprofit world works. And also then, hey, quick, show me this thing over here real quick. How does that work? So when we think about bridging that gap, it's really important that there's people within that gap everywhere that benefit from each other. And we just need to create spaces for them to be able to do that. Yeah.
And learning from one another is a key element of connection. It's one of the reasons why we are a social species, to learn from one another. So we need to create that. Yes, please.
Backing off of the learning from one another and also the book and comment, one idea that I want to uplift from the table that quite a few people talked about is the idea of kinds of actors and reclaiming actors as a states for social connection. So the idea is that you go, Dana, do you want to talk about?
I was doing a book for the issue about that.
Yeah. And for those who aren't familiar with it, what is Afters?
So I ran the impact campaign for a film called Social Dilemma on Netflix in 2020. I helped to run it. And what we did was we had all these people activated by the film. We created a series of weekly events where they could show up. There would always be something for them to hear that would be inspiring, but we kept that to 40 minutes. And then we put them all in, they could choose their own adventure to go to a bunch of different tables to talk to other people who cared about changing tech. And people would go to those tables, we'd put them there for 20 minutes. Then at the end of the hour, we'd say, look, you can leave if you don't want to leave. You can stay if you want to stay. People would stay for 2 to 3 hours every time. Wow. Because there was such a need for connection, but that like agency of you were connecting with, the repetition of it spending a lot of time, and the like, we're giving you just enough to get your head moving, and then we're connecting with one another was really, really
Do you have any tips on how you got that started and off the ground? What made it successful?
incredibly successful movie come out.
That makes help. That does help. That does help.
Kind of piggyback off that, I think, just because it's relevant. You could also do that virtually.
Yes.
As result virtuals, I should say.
You could also do that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the mid, David.
And Gordon?
Yeah, just to build on the afters, it's a little different to the table, though. Maybe I'll get to something different that the Karakaba was talking about. But the afters, when you said it, I was thinking about something else that reminded me of my time. I lived for Atlanta a couple of years, and Atlanta, compared to Boston, San Francisco, New York, other cities where I've been, is really good at, like, anytime we would go to, like, random sort of play badminton, people would always go out afterwards for a beer or something to eat. That was just sort of the culture of how, at least the people I was around and the things I was going to, would always happen after. And that was like so critical to making me feel like I belong in the city. And I'm thinking about it in terms of the Bay Area where I live now, where there's this great there's a guy who started something during the pandemic that's built up called Refuse, Refuse, where it's neighborhood cleanups and stuff like that. And he didn't sort of plan this, but it evolved where people are always going out after the cleanups afterwards. And I think that's been like critical to making it sort of successful. So the afters, I think, don't have to be hugely planned. It could just be going.
Totally. And again, anchoring it to an event that's happening, that's in the schedule. What else? Yes, please.
Just like from the conversation at this table, but also in general, like I'm hearing that there are so many opportunities out there. Like everyone in here is working on an app or share a program, and it's like we're all working on this thing, and there is opportunity out there. And so many examples came up just even in our table, and then we talked about efficiency and efficiencies creating more time and space in our life, but like what are we choosing to do with that? And so like there's so many solutions out there, but how are we changing the culture so that it's like the default choice that people are making? And I think that's the conversation I want to continue having. I think we started to have here too. It's like, what are those cultural values and what are we choosing to do and what do we see other people doing and who's going to do it first to engage other people and invite someone to do it? And
Totally, which establishes norms within the group, which makes it more likely to keep on occurring and occurring more frequently. Yeah. Yes, please.
The second question made me think about, like, we were talking about just like the vibrancy of relationships and how technology can affect that. But something else that I guess we didn't get to talk about fully, but that I just thought of was like both the vibrancy of relationships and how the vibrancy of technology can affect those relationships. And so like when you talk about technology, it's such a big spectrum. You can talk about like FaceTime or just like Instagram Reels or TikTok. Like I feel like I'm connected to some friends if like they just sent me like a couple Instagram Reels. I'm like, oh, like this is of me, like that's sweet. And then I feel connected to some friends, like my hometown friends, when I'm not, like when I'm away at college, I'm like connecting with them through a FaceTime. And like it really depends on the type of relationship that you have with that person and how you feel connected to them based on the circumstances that your relationship was built off of. Like if I met that person at school and we went to like junior year together, so it was just absolutely like the worst time of our lives, then obviously we're way more connected than just like a friend that I might have met at a party and I'm just like Instagram friends with. And so at least at my age, I'm like 19 years old, I've grown up with technology. Like, I mean, my parents always had phones. Like it was just normal for me to grow up this way. I think even with that, technology still affects my relationships in different ways based on which type of technology you're talking.
Totally. And that's why there's so many conversations about measurement with this topic, because it's so multifaceted and so contextual. Creating that consistency of understanding and baseline is really difficult. We are going to have to leave it there. I'm really sorry, because I think we could talk about it. Thank you. The cool thing is lunch is now. So if you had a great conversation, you have the choice to continue that conversation with people going through into lunch. Thank you all so much for showing up and contributing. Thank you.